Are you looking for a traditional banking experience with a banker who calls you by name? Then we invite you to get to know our friends at Bryant Bank. Bryant Bank customers enjoy online banking accessible around the clock to give you the freedom and flexibility to bank your way, all backed by the people you know and trust. Get to know your Bryant banker at one of the 4 Tuscaloosa locations today. Bryant Bank, an equal housing lender, and as always, a member of the FDIC. It's tournament time, my friends. March Madness is upon us, and this show is going to be all about March Madness, as we're going to have 2 very special guests, legends, join us on this edition of the Stingray Show. You're just going to have to wait and see who they are right here on the Stingray Show. Guys, we've got a lot to dive into, so let's get things rocking and rolling.
Hi, this is Tim Brando with a reminder. Those of you on Tide 100.9, look out. You're about to feel the buzz of Stingray.
This is Stephen Ray, a.k.a. Stingray, coming to you live from Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
I'm Heath Hopkins. I'm here in DeSoto County, Mississippi, right outside of Memphis, Tennessee. You know, Mark, I'm going to put you on the spot. Do you feel that responsibility to pay it forward and give some kid a chance coming up in the ranks, kind of like Tony did for you?
Why do you think I'm talking to Stingray tonight?
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
No, I mean, look, no.
Hey, Stingray, here's the deal. When you get involved with Texas, it's like getting married to a stripper. and let me explain this. It looks good, kind of sexy on the surface. Yeah, but then you get the baggage, you get the drama, you get all that eventually comes with it. And that's what you get with Texas, and that's what the Big 12 learned.
And Heath, any thoughts on our show moving forward?
Hey, to everyone in Tuscaloosa listening here on Tide 100.9. With the Stingray Show, if you don't like it, you better learn to love it, because it's the best show going today, baby. Woo!
Are you guys in the mood for community goods and great barbecue? That's what you'll find at the Coker Market, located in Coker, Alabama, at the 4-way intersection off of County Road 140. Their hours of operation are Wednesday through Saturday, 11 a.m. until 7 p.m., and their menu items include the Midnight, which is smoked ham, smoked pork, Swiss cheese, Creole mustard, mayonnaise, and a pickle, grilled on French bread. That sandwich is absolutely amazing. Make sure you go and check out the Coker Market right there at the 4-way intersection in Coker for amazing food and community goods. And ladies and gentlemen, with all of that, we want to welcome you inside another edition of the Stingray Show. And I've got to tell you guys what, this show is going to be a star-studded show, to say the least. As Heath, we are going to have former Alabama player and Alabama head coach Mark Godfrey join us. And then after that, Heath, we're going to have the legendary broadcaster Tim Brando. So Mark Godfrey and Tim Brando in the same show is going to be electric.
And not only that, Stephen, we're going long today. We got an hour-and-a-half show, so we've got a ton of fun stuff in here. Yes. Lots of college basketball. Get your bracket out. Compare your notes. Guess what? Your bracket's wrong from mine, because mine is right and yours is wrong, and I'm going to win and you're not. No. We're going to have fun with this. Check your brackets, get it. You're going to get a lot of tidbit information. So if you do want to change your bracket last second, you got the opportunity to, but you got to listen to today's show. Yes. Mark Godfrey, former coach. Steven, I didn't know this. He's been in 19 tournaments as a player and a coach.
Yeah. 19
big dances. That's amazing.
So the in-depth that you're going to hear coming up from Coach Godfrey and Tim Brando, it's going to be amazing. But before we get to that, Heath, the national day of today for Wednesday, March the 20th, it is obviously Hump Day. Heath, for all of the lovebirds out there, it is National Proposal Day.
Oh, I wonder why.
I have no idea on that one, but officially today is National Proposal Day.
Maybe it's because the men will do it and the women will be so excited and they've got to start planning and this and that, and it gives the men time to go watch basketball and, you know, stay away from everything. That's my guess on that.
And by the way,
I'll say this, Stephen. It should be like, Thursday should be like National Vasectomy Day, because that's the number one day of the year men have vasectomies, because they come home and watch basketball for 2 days with, you know, frozen peas on their marbles. So.
Don't know if we can put that on the air, but okay.
Absolutely, you can put frozen peas and marbles on the air.
All right. So, Heath, I do want to also welcome you into spring because spring arrived at 10 o'clock last night officially. So we are definitely in springtime right now, your favorite time of the year.
Yeah, spring and summer, absolutely. You know, sports-wise, this is the best time of year. Mm-hmm. Spring football's getting ready to get started. You got the big dance going on. You know, you've got Augusta and the Masters right around the corner. Major League Baseball's about to get going. You got spring training. The trade deadline, free agency. I should say trade deadline, but trading and free agency with the NFL or heading for the NFL draft. Sports-wise, this is the best time of year. You know, but I'll tell you this, Stephen. I love the heat. I hate the cold. I love the heat. I'm okay with fall. I'm okay with a little nip of the year. But if it gets below 44 degrees, I hate life.
All right. So I saw something interesting on Facebook, and it was from a radio station out of Atlanta, Georgia, 97.1 The River. Over there, they put this out on Facebook, and one of my friends shared it on Facebook. Heath, can you tell me the most popular classic rock bands in every U.S. state based on the Google Trend searches data over the past year? Can you tell me what band Tennessee has on that list?
Classic rock band, Tennessee. All right, there's a lot of country music influence, so I'm going to go with Southern rock and roll. But I'm not going to say Leonard Skinner. You know what? I'm going to go completely opposite. I'm going to go with the new resident. He's not really new. He's lived in Nashville for about 10 years. I'm going to go with someone like Kid Rock. I know he's not classic rock, but what do you got?
Tennessee and Missouri are right up your wheelhouse with Jump and Human Beings of Van Halen.
Really?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
I've always thought.
Heath, Heath, I automatically thought of you and thought we should bring this up when I saw that.
Well, appreciate that, man. You know, Van Halen is my favorite band. I think they're great. You know, they're doing the tribute show. Sammy Hagar is getting a lot of the guys. I was very upset. Alex Van Halen, the drummer, Eddie's brother, excellent drummer. Alex is not going to join the tour. Alex said it's just too painful. He doesn't want to perform. I think they're trying to get him for like a show or two just to kind of come out. I don't know if that's going to happen, but looking forward to the show this summer. I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it, but man, props to the folks in Tennessee and Missouri. You beautiful, smart people.
All right. For Mississippi and Alabama, obviously it is Leonard Skinner.
I would have guessed that because Skinner died in Mississippi, and then of course they got Sweet Home Alabama.
Georgia was the Allman Brothers, but dude, this one kind of shook me a little bit here. Florida. Can you guess what Florida is?
I'm going to go something random. I mean, you would think ZZ Top, or I was about to say Leonard Skinner because they're from Florida, but I'm going to say ZZ Top, just randomly. I have no idea.
Another one bites the dust in Queen.
Okay. Well, you know, Florida's not really...
I did not see that one coming.
Yeah, I was about to say, Florida's not really south. Outside the Panhandle, it's no longer south, but it's Florida. It's different. But wow, okay.
All right, and finally, this one is really, really good. Louisiana, Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Texas all had Sharp-Dressed Man of ZZ Top.
There you go. I knew they would make it somewhere. Okay,
and the final state that I will say, for the Kentucky fans out there, we cannot forget about the state of Kentucky. They are going with Detroit Rock City of Kiss.
Okay. Nothing wrong with that. I like Kiss.
So we did all of the states south of the Mason-Dixon line, and I do want to thank 97.1 The River for giving us that little bit right there to start off this segment. So Heath, on that note, we're going to take our first break, and when we come back, we're going to give you our Fave 5 surrounding the Fave 5 NCAA games of all time. That's on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Stingray Show. We will be right back with our Fave 5.
Timmy B, Mark Godfrey, on deck.
Citizens of West Alabama, have you heard the news? The Bank of Moundville, which was established way back in 1907, offers personal loans of all sizes, unsecured and secured, with competitive interest rates. You can contact them today at 205-371-2227. Once again, that is the Bank of Moundville, 205-371-2227, or go by and see them in downtown Moundville. They are an equal housing lender and a member of the FDIC. Do you guys like to fish? I know I do, and if you have a pond or lake in your backyard that needs stocking of fish, you need to contact biologist Jeff Bagwell with Honey Hole Fisheries. He can help you stock your lake with bluegill, largemouth bass, and hybrid striped bass. You can get in touch with Jeff Bagwell and Honey Hole Fisheries at 205-799-0192. Once again, that is Honey Hole Fisheries, 205-799-0192. Contact Mr. Jeff Bagwell today and let him help you build the lake of your dreams. Do you guys dream about owning a home or a condominium down on the beautiful beaches of Alabama, say Orange Beach, Gulf Shores, or maybe even Fairhope? Then let me tell you about First Class Real Estate South Home Group's owner, Celeste Hagler. She has brokers down there in the beautiful beaches of Alabama to help you purchase the home of your dreams and to live where you love in the state of Alabama. You can contact Celeste Hagler at 205-861-5698. Contact Celeste Hagler today to help you live where you love in the state of Alabama.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Watch for an accident blocking the right lane on 17th Street at Greensboro Avenue. Also an accident Lurleen B. Wallace Boulevard North, just after University Boulevard. And we've got congestion developing on Highway 82 East from Airport Road to Jack Warner Parkway. It's a 4-minute delay. Also, construction work on McWright's Ferry Road. It's being extended down to Rice Mine Road. With your Tuscaloosa traffic now, I'm Lisa Baque.
This report. Follow the Crimson Tide on their journey to another national championship. Touchdown, Alabama! On your home for Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
Hello to all you nice folks here in Tuscaloosa and SEC fans checking us out on the podcast. You're listening to Tide 100.9, the Stingray Show. I'm Heath Hopkins. Along with me is Stephen Stingray Ray.
Yes, sir.
Stephen, we got a huge show. We're about to get going with Mark Godfrey here in a second. But before we do, we're going to talk about our Fave 5 today. And you know what? I'd love to get the Fave 5 of Mark Godfrey and Timmy B. I don't know if we'll have enough time in the show to do that today or not. But our Fave 5 NCAA basketball games, whether that be an upset, a championship game, whatever it might be. What is your favorite 5? Stephen, we'll start with you first. What are your favorite 5 big dance games that you've ever watched or seen or heard about?
All right. At number 5, I'm going in 2015. Number 14 seed Georgia State upsets number 3 Baylor at the buzzer, 57-56. And the coach for Georgia State's son hit the game winner and was so excited he fell off the stool and tore his Achilles. The coach was Ron Hunter. That is number 5 on my list. That's Georgia State upsetting number 3 Baylor.
Very good one. Great one to start with. What'd you get at number 4?
Number 4, I'm going with one that still resonates with me today because it completely ruined my bracket in the first game of the tournament in 2016. It was number 15 seed Middle Tennessee State upset number 2 Michigan State in 2016, like I said, and Michigan State that year had won 16 of their last 17 coming into the tournament. So the number 4 is going to be number 15 seed Middle Tennessee upsetting Sparty.
Was that Kermit Davis's team, or was he had left and just gone to Ole Miss that first year? I remember that. I want to say Kermit Davis was the coach at MTSU and then went to Ole Miss shortly after that.
So at number 3, I'm going with the craziest ending that I have ever seen in my entire life. It was a 14-2 run that the third seed Texas A&M Aggies came back from 12 down with 44 seconds left to force overtime versus number 11 Northern Iowa to win in double overtime to advance to the Sweet 16. And that one was also in 2016.
Yeah, that was a really good game. That was a phenomenal game. That's a great one, Stephen. Very good one. I forgot all about that game, but I remember that game, and that was a awesome comeback. That was a crazy ending.
With 44 seconds left, Texas A&M was down 69-57 and forced overtime.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
All right, at number 2, if you are a Wildcat fan, you probably want to cover your ears. At number 2, I watched this game from start to finish. Number 1, Wisconsin over undefeated number 1 Kentucky back in 2015. And remember, guys, that Wisconsin team was a senior latent, experienced team that beat an unexperienced, talented Kentucky team. And that one will always resonate with me. That experience will always triumph over talent when you have a basketball game like that, because everything that Kentucky threw at Wisconsin that evening, Wisconsin battled back and took over that game and literally shut down that really, really talented Kentucky team that evening. So that is why I'm going with Wisconsin over undefeated number 1 Kentucky in 2015. And guys, unfortunately for Wisconsin, after knocking off Kentucky, they were completely gassed and they lost in the national championship game 2 nights later, and they lost it big because they had nothing left.
Yeah, that does happen sometimes.
Number 1, Heath, is history. History, man, 2018. University of Maryland, Baltimore County. We finally got to see it. Upsets number 1 overall seed Virginia in the 2018 tournament. That's why I'm going with that game at number 1, because it was history, because that was the first time ever a 16 seed had knocked off a 1 seed, and going into that game, the number 1 seeds were 135-0 against number 16 seeds until that evening.
But good stuff, Stephen. Good stuff.
All right, Heath, what about you, my man?
Number 5, a little bit sentimental. I'm going with Mississippi State and the Loyola Ramblers back in 1963. If you have not seen the documentary on the SEC Network on this, you should watch it. It's called The Game of Change. Ross Barnett, the governor of Mississippi, refused to let the Mississippi State players play this game because the opposing team, quote, had colored players. They refused to let the athletes integrate and play a game. And they were like, nope, we're not going to let our boys from Mississippi. Mississippi State broke all the rules. They thought they were going to get jailed. They thought they were going to get arrested. They thought they were going to get thrown out of school. They'll never get their college education. And like I said, serve prison term. You know, and with that, they went against the governor's wishes, snuck out of town in the middle of the night, took a plane, flew out. The coach had to ride in the trunk until they got outside of city limits, outside the county limits, got in the front seat in the middle of the night, drove to Memphis. He got on a plane, flew up and met the team. The teams went on different airplanes and the coach went different. So they all got there. To hear those players talk, they thought any second cops were going to storm the floor and arrest them during the middle of the game. They were all worried. And guess what, Gracie? Things started happening. So that's why they call it Game of Change, because a couple of players from Mississippi State University stood up and did what's best for the human race and for their state. And that's why that is my number 5. Number 4, you kind of stole my number 4, so I'm going to go with Fairleigh Dickinson and Purdue, the other 16-1 upset. I did have University of Maryland, Baltimore County, and Virginia back in 2018. But, hey, shortly after that, Fairleigh Dickinson and Purdue, that was the other 16-1 upset, so we'll throw that one in there. Number 3, no one saw this coming. UNLV and Duke in 1991. UNLV was not just beating people or embarrassing people. They were humiliating and skull-dragging teams all season long. That is the greatest college basketball team, still to this day, I have ever seen. And in the Final Four, this little wimpy Duke team, who Duke had never won the national title, could not ever win it. They were that team that, they get far every year, but they can't win it. They overcame all the odds, beat UNLV, and won the national title. I was shocked. We were all shocked. Everybody thought UNLV would just steamroll it. We're undefeated. They fell short. There you go. Number 2, hey, this one makes me laugh, but they show it at the beginning of every tournament. And does it make me laugh because it's my arch rival suffering pain? Yes, that's part of it. But this is one of the greatest moments. I got a feeling we'll hear about it from Timmy B later in the show. But Valparaiso beating Ole Miss at the buzzer. Homer Drew's son, Bryce Drew, the former Vanderbilt coach, hits that amazing game-winning shot with like a second left on the clock. They throw it down the floor. They tip it to him. He catches it, releases it, drains it, and wins the game. One of the greatest tournament memories ever. But Valparaiso upsetting Ole Miss in the opening game. And, hey, the number 1 game on my list, I think it's the absolute greatest basketball game that was ever played. Duke versus Kentucky in 1992. I wanted Kentucky to win that game. They lost. If you have not ever seen that game, there's been a 30 for 30 on this game. I still think this is the greatest college basketball game ever. The winner went to the Elite Eight, if I'm not mistaken. With that, watch that game on YouTube. It is the most intense game. Christian Laettner catching that shot, that turnaround jumper. We've seen that highlight on commercials in the beginning of the big dance, but that is the greatest basketball game I have ever seen in my entire life. Phenomenal game.
So, Heath, on that note, that is going to wrap up our Fave 5, and when we come back, we are going to dive into March Madness with Mark Godfrey, the former Alabama and NC State coach. That's on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Stingray Show. Guys, we will be right back with former Alabama head coach Mark Godfrey. Strange Brew Coffee House continues to roll out brand new drinks, including the Yosemite, which is white chocolate and roasted marshmallow. Doesn't that sound amazing? You can find Strange Brew at 1101 University Boulevard, right there on the strip at the University of Alabama campus. And hey, did you know that you can get Strange Brew delivered to your door? Check out StrangeBrewCoffeehouse.com for all the Strange Brews bags of coffee, K-Cups, mugs, shirts, and a whole lot more right there at StrangeBrewCoffeehouse.com. Are you guys in the mood for community goods and great barbecue? That's what you'll find at the Coker Market, located in Coker, Alabama at the four-way intersection off of County Road 140. Their hours of operation are Wednesday through Saturday, 11 a.m. until 7 p.m., and their menu items include the Midnight, which is smoked ham, smoked pork, Swiss cheese, Creole mustard, mayonnaise, and a pickle, grilled on French bread. That sandwich is absolutely amazing. Make sure you go and check out the Coker Market right there at the four-way intersection in Coker for amazing food and community goods. Your life can change on a dime, and if you are relocating for your job up to the Rocket City of Huntsville, the fastest growing city in the state of Alabama, you need to contact Celeste Hagler of First Class Real Estate South Home Group. She has brokers all over North Alabama to help you get settled with buying a new home in North Alabama. You can contact her at 205-861-5698. Once again, that is Celeste Hagler, 205-861-5698. Contact Celeste Hagler today to live where you love in the state of Alabama, even in the Rocket City of Huntsville.
The best sports talk in the state. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
welcome back inside the Stingray Show. Our guest this evening that we are about to bring on is none other than former Alabama player and head coach Mark Gottfried, who then went on to be a head coach there at North Carolina State. And we are going to talk with Coach Gottfried about all of the NCAA tournament action that starts tomorrow. So, ladies and gentlemen, please help us welcome back to the Stingray Show, Mr. Mark Gottfried. Mark, how in the world are you doing, sir?
I am doing fantastic. It's nice out here in California. I can't complain, so I'm up early having a little coffee with you guys. I couldn't be more excited.
Thank you.
We had a freeze warning here in the Memphis area, so I'm glad sunny California is treating you good.
So, Coach Gottfried, I do want to ask you, earlier this year, obviously Alabama brought you back for the Texas A&M game to honor you and your former team. Talk about that experience for us just for a second.
Well, it was an amazing couple nights. You know, whenever you put a team back together, especially a team that, you know, achieved something pretty special, you know, that team, you know, going to the Elite Eight, but you know, you put all those guys in a room, and Kennedy Winston and Antoine Petway and Chuck Davis and, you know, Evan Brock and Emmett Thomas, and the list goes on and on. But, you know, when you get in a room together, there's a bond that you have with your players. And you know, those guys have grown up. Not only were they great players and they were a great team, but, you know, they're just good people. It's wonderful to see these guys doing well in life and, you know, with good families and children and spouses. So anyway, it was a wonderful time. And then to walk out onto half court at Coleman Coliseum, for me, I've done it a few times now with some teams, and it's just, there's nothing like it. You know, there's so many friends I have there. You know, a lot of the fans of Alabama, they were my friends, you know, my people, my buddies. And so it's great to see them. So we had a great time. Thank you for asking.
Coach, when we get to March Madness and all the craziness, what is it like on the administrative side as a head coach? I mean, obviously you want to get, you know, tickets for the players' families and things like that. But what's the administrative side? What's the backstory, the story, you know, behind the curtain of how all of this gets going to go here to the first two rounds?
Well, that's a great question because most people have no idea. So first I will tell you that, you know, when you're sitting in wherever you are watching that selection show, there's not a whole lot of things better in life. I mean, there are, but in sports. But there's so much anticipation. There's excitement. Your players, you know, sometimes you're a team, and we've had them where you're a bona fide, you know, 1 or 2 seed, and you know you're going and you're going to see who you play. Other times, you know, you're sitting, hanging by the seat of your pants, trying to make sure you get in that thing. But it's so much fun. But as soon as it's called and as soon as your name is on that board, your mind starts to shift to that opponent. You look at the bracket, you look who's out there, and then you start assigning scouting assignments on your staff. Okay, you've got this team, you've got this team. If we win, you guys, you know, getting a head start looking at this team and really starting to study film. And really, there's some media obligations right away. You know, obviously the media want to, you know, get involved. Right. But right after that, most people don't realize the coaching staffs of those 68 teams, they're heading into the office at 5, 6 o'clock on that Sunday night, and they're going to stay there till midnight. And they're all starting to dive in deep and really study the opponent. There's some things you got to take care of at planes and travel and hotels, and, you know, hopefully you got people that can help you with that. But from a coaching standpoint, it's all about diving in and getting as much of a head start as possible, because typically you're going to practice Monday and Tuesday, maybe Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and you're on a plane and you're out of there and you're ready to go wherever it is they're going to assign you. So it's an exciting, the adrenaline is flowing from that moment that your name is called until, you know, the tip off, if it's a Tuesday possibly, or a Thursday, Friday. I've played in all of those. I've been in the Tuesday game. I've had Thursday games, Friday games. So, but you gotta, there's just so much excitement for everybody in those first few hours, and then obviously leading up to your first game.
You know, Coach, when they call your name, have you ever dreaded seeing an opponent? What's the team you dread the most seeing? Whether you were a 8 or 9 seed or a 1 or 2 seed, you're like, why did they put those guys in our bracket? What was one thing that you remember like, gosh, dog, why'd y'all do that to us?
Well, usually you're so excited you don't care, and you feel like you can beat anybody. It doesn't matter. You know, I've had teams that were 15 seeds when I was at Murray State. I've had teams that were 2 seeds, and so, but it's different. But I'm going to tell you one story. I was at Murray State before I came to Alabama, and we had a really good team my last year. I think we were 29-3, and we were good. We had beaten Arkansas and Puerto Rico, beaten Iowa State. I mean, we had a really nice team. And our name comes up for the 8-9 game, which at that time for the Ohio Valley Conference, that was the highest any team from the OVC had ever been selected to be in the 8-9 game. Usually from the OVC, the Ohio Valley Conference, you're in that 13, 14, 15 kind of range. But they stuck us against Rhode Island, which was against Jim Herrick, who was my kind of mentor. I coached with him at UCLA, and he had a good team too with Catino Mobley and Tyson Wheeler, these guys. But it was one of those where on one hand, you get the highest seed ever for the Ohio Valley Conference. On the other hand, I'm playing against a guy that probably knows my team better than anybody in America. We probably talk once a week through the whole season. And now I got to play them in the NCAA tournament. And we end up losing the game. But that was one of those like, what? We got to play against him. He knows my team better than I know my team. So that was a tough one.
I bet.
So, Coach Gottfried, getting back to the NCAA tournament, when you have a game on like a Tuesday or on a Thursday or a Friday, walk us through what it is like when you win with that quick turnaround to play on Saturday or Sunday. Talk us through what goes on behind the scenes to get your team ready for the next round in a couple of days.
Well, let me first say I've always felt like, and I know television dictates this, but I've always felt like the conferences, and we did it when I was at NC State, the championship game was Saturday. In the SEC for years and years, that championship game has been Sunday. And people don't realize if you have a Sunday, Tuesday turnaround, and you got to remember when you play on Sunday in your conference tournament, keep in mind that means you've played Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Sometimes Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You may have played 4 straight days. You have to take a day off. Your players have got to get their legs underneath them. When you play that championship game on Saturday, you could get that Sunday off. You get your chance to kind of rest your body, and then you get ready to prepare on Monday. So I've always felt that Sunday afternoon championship game, it's a disadvantage in a great way for teams. But, once you get in there, it's all about preparation. You got to get it turned around pretty quickly. One thing in the tournament that I always try to do as a head coach, and I think it's why we made some great runs through the tournament, is you got to get fresh legs and fresh minds. And you're excited. The adrenaline is flowing. You've had this great run through your conference tournament potentially. Now you're getting ready to go play. Everybody in America is calling your players and moms and dads and uncles and congratulating them, and everybody's excited. So there's such an adrenaline flow that you got to be able to make sure you're getting rest. If you don't get any rest, you're going to play like a dud on Thursday or Friday, and it's just not going to be very fun. So there's a lot that goes into it, but boy, is it exciting.
Coach, is there a lot to it of being shipped out west? I mean, obviously, if you're a West Coast school, you're not worried about being shipped west. You're worried about being shipped east, but you hear people complain about that every year in the Southeast. You're like, they're shipping us out west. They're shipping us out west. We're the best 2 seed. We're the best 4 seed. We're the best whatever seed, but they're shipping us out west. Your thoughts on that?
Here's what you have to remember. I got 2 things to say on that. It's a great question, Heath. Number one is you got to remember when the tournament is seeded, and the way the selection committee does the tournament seedings, they start with 1 and go all the way to 68, or really 64, and then you've got the teams in the play-in on Tuesday. But if you can imagine taking and you're going to rank them. Let's say us 3 were on the committee, and we're going to rank them, and we're going to start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and go all the way down. And it's literally an S curve. So they're going to take 1, 2, 3, 4, and under 4, you're going 5, 6, 7, 8. So theoretically, the one of the ones would play the 8th best team in the country if they were to be in the regional final for the Elite 8, to get to the Final Four. So when you do the S curve and it's going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, you're going back and forth. Some of that, there's so many people say, it's a conspiracy theory. They shipped Auburn there. Alabama has to go there. And it's really a matter of how you fall in that S curve as they make the bracket out. And so I'm not a guy that believes in all the conspiracies. Hey, we huddled up in the corner and the 3 of us decided we're going to ship somebody over there because we don't like the coach. I just don't think any of that kind of stuff happens. I think it's pretty pure, and so that's the process. On going to the West, let me just say this. The year that we went to the Elite 8 at Alabama, 2004, we got shipped to Seattle, and we played Southern Illinois first, and then we had to play Stanford, who was the one of the ones that year. They were 30-1, and they were in the West. So we've got to play them in Seattle, and we ended up beating them. Now, those first 2 games, we had about 20 fans there because it was the weekend of the A-Day game in Alabama. And, nobody paid attention yet until after we beat Stanford. And then we had to go back. We had to fly back to Alabama. Then we had to fly back to Phoenix and play Syracuse, who was defending national champions, and beat them. And then we played UConn. So for me, I'm not a guy that just got caught up in all that. You could have sent us to Siberia. It didn't matter to me. We're going to go play, and we're going to go play hard.
So, Coach, hold that thought because we're up against another break. And when we come back, we are going to dive into the 2024 bracket of March Madness. That's on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Stingray Show. We will be right back.
Go inside the Alabama Crimson Tide with the Gary Harris Show.
Hey everybody, it's Gary Harris coming up Thursday morning at 9 a.m. on the Gary Harris Show. Boy, so much to cover. March Madness, Alabama basketball, Alabama baseball, Alabama softball, and Alabama football, including Pro Day. We'll recap that. Jeff Spiegel will join us as well. Your phone calls and more. The Gary Harris Show, Thursday morning at 9 a.m.
Catch the Gary Harris Show Monday through Friday, 9 to 11 a.m. on Tide 100.9 and Tide100.9.com.
If you're looking for a traditional banking experience with a banker who calls you by name, we invite you to get to know our friends at Bryant Bank. Bryant Bank customers enjoy online banking accessible around the clock to give you the freedom and flexibility to bank your way, all backed by people who you know and trust. Get to know your Bryant banker at one of the 4 locations right here in Tuscaloosa. Bryant Bank, equal housing lender, and of course, a member of the FDIC. Since 1999, residents of Tuscaloosa has depended on this butcher shop and grocery store. I'm talking about South's Finest Meats. With their specialty meats and fresh to frozen bulk vegetables, you can prepare delicious home-cooked meals all week long. At South's Finest Meats, customer service is their number one priority, and when you shop with them, you can expect to be treated like an MVP. Go by and check out South's Finest Meats at 3201 10th Avenue right there in Tuscaloosa. South's Finest Meats, the official sponsor of the Stingray Show. Residents of Tuscaloosa, are you guys upsizing, downsizing, looking for college housing, or even relocating for your job right here to Tuscaloosa? If that's the case, then you need to contact Celeste Hagler, owner and operator of First Class Real Estate South Home Group. She can help you with the buying, selling, and investment needs throughout the state of Alabama. You can contact Celeste at 205-861-5698. Reach out to Celeste again at 205-861-5698 and schedule a consultation to discuss your real estate goals and to live where you love in the state of Alabama.
Tide 100.9 traffic.
Tuscaloosa traffic now from the Townsend Nissan Traffic Center. Watch for congestion north on Highway 69 from 15th Street to Mid-Lowry Road. It's a 13-minute delay. Watch for some slowing on eastbound Highway 82 heading from Airport Road to Jack Warner Parkway. It's a 3-minute delay. Long-term road work continues on McFarland Road from University Boulevard to Lurleen B. Wallace. With your Tuscaloosa traffic now, I'm Lisa Baque.
Catch every game and every moment right here. This is your home of Alabama sports. Tide 100.9 and streaming on the Tide 100.9 app.
For 75 years and counting, the Tuscaloosa Farmers Co-op has been serving West Alabama for all of their hunting, outdoor, gardening, and farming needs, as well as seasonal flowers and vegetables. And this year is no different. The Spring Co-op Plant Sale goes on from March the 25th through May the 11th. Pick any 5 for $20. Mix any varieties. That is the Spring Plant Sale at the Tuscaloosa Farmers Co-op. The Tuscaloosa Farmers Co-op is located in Northport, Alabama, just west of the Highway 82 and 43 intersection at 4301 McFarland Boulevard in Northport. Go by there and see them today for their Spring Plant Sale, March the 25th through May the 11th, only at the Tuscaloosa Farmers Co-op.
Welcome back to Tide 100.9. You listen to the Stingray Show. I'm Heath Hopkins along with Stephen Ray. Today, our very special guest, Coach Mark Godfrey, is joining us here on the show. We're talking all things big dance. Coach, I wanted to ask you, we talked about the seeding here there in the first segment. Going in the second segment, I wanted to ask you about this. Everyone gets upset and offended about this and that when it comes to the tournament. We talked about conspiracy theories and this and that, but I've made this joke forever. We had Mark Godfrey on the show. We had Doug Gottlieb. There we go. Coach, we had Doug Gottlieb on the show here not too long ago, and I made this joke with Doug, and I wanted to get his reaction. I want to get yours. we want idiots on the selection committee, don't we? Because if they get it right, it leads to boring games. All the upper seeds win. We want idiots to mess this up. We want idiots on the selection committee because that's when the upsets happen. We're like, why in the world is this team a 12 seed? Why is this the 5-12 game? Why is this going on? Is that a true statement, or I'm just having fun with everybody? Well, what do you think? Do we need idiots on the
That's a great perspective. Only Doug Gottlieb could come up with that one possibly, or maybe you did. I'm not sure, but I know Doug too well. I know where he's getting at with that one. But the beauty of the tournament, in my view, has always been the uncertainty of who's going to upset who, because there will be upsets. There's no doubt about it. Somebody's getting beat. It's going to be an higher seed. And, guys, I've been on every side of the coin. I was trying to count them today, how many tournaments I think I've been in as a player to coach. I think it's 19 or 20 or 21. But, all of those years, I think I've seen kind of it all. We're at UCLA, and the year before we won the national championship, we were in the 5-12 game, and we had to play Tulsa. Tubby Smith coached them, and they were really good. We had to play them in Oklahoma City. And when you talk about walking into the Lions Den now, and next thing you know, they popped us. Now, we came back the next year and won the national championship, but we got on the plane and flew home, and we were all convinced we were getting fired that night at UCLA. Purdue is one of those teams that's going to be interesting because they've been popped a few times. I think last year it might have been a 1-16 game if I have that right.
Yes.
And so again, I think when the selection committee makes the choices, and I've been in the room on our board of directors at the NABC, our National Association of Basketball Coaches, and we've done a mock selection with the committee members one year prior to the tournament, and we actually sat in and watched and listened how they kind of mold over all these teams, and it always comes down to those last few teams that get in, and everybody's going to argue this team should have got it instead of that team. But I just think it's the beauty of the draw. You just have no idea. They're doing the best job they can. I do believe that. I don't believe that, they're sitting in there with some sinister type motives. And so I just think it's the fun part of the tournament is, you're going to learn who you're going to play. You're already looking to that next game. Okay, here's two teams. If we win, we potentially got to play that team. You're looking through your bracket. Who is the 1 and 2 seeds in that bracket? Because potentially they have the best chances to get to that regional final. But it just creates so much excitement for everybody. Doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you're a coach, a fan, administrator, if you're a high school teacher, if you're a banker, if you're someone. Everybody's paying attention. Everybody in the whole country. And I think that's why I've always told my players it's the greatest show on earth. And I don't think there's anything like it. And it creates so much fun and excitement for everybody to fill out a bracket.
So, Coach, talking right there about the brackets, let's go on ahead and dive right in, and let's start with the East region, which features UConn as well as Florida Atlantic, UAB, Auburn, and BYU. Give us your thoughts as you looked at the East bracket when it first came out.
Well, I think the thing for me is I think UConn, even last year and into this year, I think they're the best team in the country. I really like Houston and I really like Purdue because of the big kid. I think they're different. But I do think UConn is the best team. They have tournament experience. They've been there. They've made deep runs. Could somebody beat them? Yeah, somebody could beat them. But all in all, again, I think they're going to be a hard out. I really do. I think they have all the pieces. They've got perimeter shooting. They're quick. They rebound the ball really well. I'd have a hard time thinking that somebody's going to knock them out.
Coach, we're talking about seeding here. Is it better, and I'm asking as from a coach perspective, is it better to be a 10 seed than playing in that 8-9 game, knowing you got to play the number 1 seed right after that? Would you rather be the 10 seed and take your chances? I mean, how do coaches look at that? I mean, I know everyone's happy to be there, but if you have to be an 8-9 or a 10, would you rather be the 10?
I would. Now, I say that, and I'm going to go back again to 2008. We were the 8-9 game and went to the Elite Eight, but we had to beat Stanford, who was 30-1 in the second game. I used to call the 8-9 game, that's the booby prize game. That's the one where, hey, we're going to invite you to the party, but you're probably not going to be here very long. You're going to go early because you're invited to the party. But the tough thing is you got to stare at number 1 if you win. Now, it's happened many times where the 1 seed is lost, to the 8-9 winner. But, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. So I think you make a good point. Sometimes that 10-11 seed is sometimes even better than the 8-9 seed just because of the way the bracket is laid out. And But again, you got no control over. But I think you make a great point.
All right. So, Coach, when we move to the West region, that is the region that has North Carolina, Michigan State, Mississippi State, Alabama, Clemson, Baylor, and Arizona. How do you see the West region playing out? And especially, what are your thoughts on that Alabama basketball team? How far can they go?
Well, when I saw the first bracket, I thought that was the toughest region. And, you never know for sure. That's just a perception guess. That's my perception is that's the tough. That has the most teams that are, I think there's more upsets could be in that bracket. I don't think there's a dominant team in that bracket. I think it's more even. In other words, I do like Arizona. And even though North Carolina got beat by NC State, I like their team this year. I think they got a really nice team. Hubert's done a great job. But, Alabama is one of those teams, in my view. I've watched them in person, obviously, and then I've watched them throughout the year. I hate saying this because I'm rooting for them so hard. I want them to win, but it's kind of feast or famine. If they can make threes and get going and get hot and really shoot it, they potentially can beat anybody. Now, the difficult part for them is, they have, especially late in the season here, we've given up a lot of points, and you're talking about 100 a few times, and eventually you got to really guard somebody. You got to be able to stop somebody, and to think that for 6 straight games or for 4 straight games to make a Final Four, I'm going to outshoot you for 4 straight nights. That might be a tall ask. That's a tough one. Doesn't mean it can't happen. I hope it does, but and the other thing I think what happens in the tournament, you get to this time of the year, and I don't think there's any team out there that they're going to reinvent who they are. If you're a team that's been giving up 100, I don't think all of a sudden you're going to be a team that's going to play in the 60s or 70s. It's just hard for me to imagine that. Kind of by this point in the game, you are who you are. And Alabama can be a phenomenal offensive team, and they can get rolling the way they shoot the ball. They did it the night I was in Tuscaloosa with Texas A&M. Right. But if they struggle to make threes, then we got to rely defensively. And are we good enough? I'm not sure on that one because we've just given up so many points this year. But hopefully that'll come into play for them. But I do think they're in the hardest bracket. I think there's more balance in that bracket, from my perception, from my view, than any other bracket.
So, Coach Gottfried, hold that thought because we were up against another break. And when we come back, we are going to break down the South region and the Midwest regional. That's on the other side of the break. You're listening to the Stingray Show. We will be right back with Coach Mark Gottfried. Are you guys in the mood